All right. We are live. It worked. It worked. Morgan, we're live.
Awesome.
Okay, guys, if you are watching this, you probably know who I am. I am Elizabeth Benton, but I have with me Morgan Bungerz, who is the other half of Strong Foundations. And Morgan was actually my personal trainer for a couple of years back when I first moved from North Carolina back to New England. And I wanted to have Morgan join me tonight because I am not an expert in strength training. I am not an expert in physical fitness. I am an enthusiast. And because of the work that I do primarily with women who want to make changes in their life, I see the way that this impacts things when it's missing. This focus on consistent and effective strength training. I think generally people know exercise is good, but that is so incomplete and so lacking. And I almost think that we've just gone too far almost with the cardio and the whether it's spin or it's whatever it is, all of that is good. But it becomes a real liability if and when it takes the place of consistent and effective strength training. And the reason I wanted to have you here tonight, Morgan, to talk about this is because I think there's a lot of myths and misunderstandings, though we're further along than we were maybe 10 years ago. A lot of people think that the bucket that they want to check the box for is exercise. And I think you and I are on the same page of we need people really on the page of the bucket they need to check is consistent and effective strength training. And it's got nothing to do with aesthetics, although it'll help with aesthetics. Where you and I think, are very much aligned is that muscle is probably the most underrated health investment ever. And it's not just about aesthetics. It is about so much more than that. So I don't know, Morgan, before we kind of get into the specifics here, what do you wish more people knew and understood about strength training and why it matters so freaking much?
Yeah, absolutely. It is viewed as an option, right? Like, oh, it's a hobby. Like, oh, I don't like building birdhouses, so I don't paint birdhouses, right? It's like, oh, I don't like lifting weights, so I just choose not to do that hobby. And like, yeah, you can make it a hobby. You can spend a lot of money and change your garage to look like a gym and like really get into it. But at its most basic level, it is not an option. It's not like you can't choose not to brush your teeth. There's consequences if you don't brush your teeth, right? And strength training needs to be viewed as that same bucket of almost personal hygiene, right? It's like something you want to do to take care of yourself, to feel really good. Your life can be so much better with just a little tiny bit of focused effort, being consistent, lifting some weights.
I love that notion of it being personal hygiene. I think that is a great paradigm shift to bring to it, but it's even more than that. It is metabolism, but it is also immunity and energy and longevity. And I mean, I think a lot of people are familiar with sort of the metabolic advantages of it, that muscle is more metabolically active. But what I don't think people necessarily put the pieces together around is what happens to your metabolism as you age without consistent and effective strength training, because without it, we start losing muscle every year beginning in our 30s. I really want this to be like beginning in our 50s, beginning in our 60s, beginning in our 30s. And so how would you best describe to somebody who's like, I just prefer biking, I just prefer walking, I don't like to lift weights, or I'm afraid of getting hurt? And we're going to talk about some of that stuff around fears of getting hurt, probably another evening. But from a metabolism standpoint, if you're not doing this, but you're doing other stuff, you're walking, you're spinning, you're whatever, but you're not actively taking action to preserve or build muscle, what does this translate to metabolically?
Yeah, when we talk about this all the time, people are like, what do you mean by metabolism, right? Like, what is it a thing? It's a process by which that your body takes in fuel and produces energy, right? That is the metabolism. And when you have more muscle on your body, you're able to create more energy. You're able to feel better with that muscle. The muscle is able to produce has more mitochondria, you're able to produce more energy. Whereas when you don't have as much muscle, you tend to have higher blood sugar. Your insulin sensitivity is way thrown off, and that ends up to you feeling way less energized throughout the day when you don't have that muscle on you.
And then it's this compound effect. So if we know that we burn more calories when we have more muscle, if we're losing muscle every year starting in our 30s, that means our metabolism is slowing down every year starting in our 30s. So even if you're eating exactly the same, and most people might be eating a little bit more, even if you're eating exactly the same, you're going to start gaining weight or gaining more weight or no longer able to maintain your weight. And the problem that always bugs me about this is I think most people blame it on aging. You know, I don't have the metabolism I had in my 20s or in my 30s or whatever it is. That's not aging. That's aging without care for your muscle mass, because if you have 1 pound less muscle at 35 and 2 pounds less muscle at 38 and 5 pounds less muscle at 40, your metabolism is just going down and down and down and down and down. And your options are eat dramatically less or gain weight. And those are both awful options. And it's not just eat dramatically less is a bad option because food is good. It's then we put ourselves in a position where we're not able to give our body all the nutrients that it needs. And so we're compounding. We're coming at this lower energy from two sides. We're coming at lower energy because we have less muscle, and muscle is part of our energetic engine, but also less nutrition, less literal energy into the body. And it is an absolute disaster. The inverse of that is if you start maintaining your muscle, you start maintaining your metabolism. If you start increasing your muscle, you start increasing your metabolism. And that is a beautiful thing. And it is never too late. I actually had somebody DM me yesterday and she lost I think she said 118 pounds or something like bananas like that. But she recognized that some of that had been muscle. And she wasn't strength training as she did that. And she was in her 60s. I want to say she was in her late 60s. And she said, is it too late for me? And I was like, no. I know people who have started strength training in their 70s and their even 80s. There's no chronological cutoff after which point your body can't make any more muscle. So we have this incredible opportunity. Now, the other thing that I wanted to touch on, Morgan, I mean, we could talk about the metabolic advantages all day long.
Absolutely.
Immunity. This is another one that I feel like most people blame on aging. You know, if you get the flu when you're 40 or you're 30, no big deal. If you get the flu when you're 60 or 70 or 80, people start to get a lot more concerned. That is not a function of chronological age. That is a function of decreased muscle mass, because our muscle tissue holds reserves of lots of different things, one of them being key amino acids that are essential for healing. So if you're just declining in muscle, declining in muscle, declining in muscle, you're declining in immunological reserve. And one of the things that you always say is we get to do this. Not only is this about physiologically reduced horsepower of your immune system, but I mean, let's talk about just movement. You were just telling me before we went live about being in the airport, and we need muscle to maintain our independence and our ability to get up off a chair and get up off the couch. If we don't have it, we're literally atrophying with every year of our life.
You are such the lack of independence, right? The lack of independence that comes from losing muscle is frankly horrifying. And the way I heard someone put it recently was, do you want to be a burden to your loved ones or be able to carry the burden for your loved ones? And unfortunately, if you're someone who needs a wheelchair in the airport right now, that's like a whole extra step that now is adding complications to the trip. Whereas oh, I'll take this bag, and I'll carry everything, right? You don't have to do that. You don't have to carry everything, but it's a totally different format. If you have the ability to function, you can now ease the burden on your loved ones versus being a burden. And I love that you said, just to circle back to the being too late. It's never too late. I have most of the people I've worked with start in their 50s, 60s, and are now stronger 5-10 years later than they were when they started being 5-10 years older. It is insane. It is absolutely amazing. And a big thing about being strong is if you talk to any friend who's gone in for a knee surgery, what's the first thing a doctor tells you? Is like, okay, your surgery's in 3 months. You need to be as strong as possible coming into that surgery. It'll make recovery better. And that makes a ton of sense for a knee. You're like, oh, it's my knee, right? I got to be able to rehab it. But for any ailment, anything that's going to knock you on your butt, planned or not, surgery or flu or pneumonia, whatever it might be, if you're sitting sedentary for a long time, that's unfortunately you have no choice about it. You're going to atrophy during that time. The stronger you are going into that bedridden time, the more strong you're going to be during it, the easier you're going to have recovering from it, and the stronger you're going to be on the other side of it. Whereas if you're teetering on the edge of frailty and you get sick and you're stuck in the hospital for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 months, you're now unable to leave the hospital. You have to go through rehab just because of the decrepitude that has stuck in during that time. So being strong is so important.
You know, one of the things that I didn't realize until I started kind of diving more deeply into this with you, and I went down the research rabbit holes, even as somebody who has loved strength training for many, many years, I didn't realize the link between your muscle mass and inflammation. Yeah. Inflammation is like we think inflammation and maybe we think like knee pain or back pain or headache. Inflammation in your body is the starting point for just about every disease we know of. There's almost nothing that doesn't have an initial trigger of inflammation. And the more muscle you have, the more of an ability your body has to control inflammation. And the less muscle you have, so if it's just declining year after year after year after year, you don't have the ability to control inflammation that you did before you started losing all of this muscle mass. And the reason for that is because muscle helps regulate what are called myokines. And myokines are basically anti-inflammatory molecules in your body. They influence inflammation, of course, but also your immune system. And so when you have more muscle, you have a greater ability to regulate these anti-inflammatory molecules. And when you have less muscle, you have less of an ability to do this. Muscle is not just looks. Muscle is not just because you want to be able to show off in the gym and bench press a lot. I think there's like an old school mentality of muscle being something for athletes, right? Strength training being something for athletes. And it could not be further from the truth. Muscle is truly the unsung hero of longevity. It really, really, truly is. And I think a lot of people are missing the picture. Where I wanted to kind of wrap up with you, Morgan, and we're gonna talk more about this because I got some questions on Instagram about things like pelvic floor and some women feeling like I'm not really sure that I can do this because I have a weak pelvic floor. We have resources for that. Yeah. We'll talk about our free ebook as well. I also got some questions around like injury, or something we hear a lot is my doctor said I can't squat. So what should I do? We're going to talk about that in an upcoming live. But what I wanted to make sure we hit on before we go this evening is the link between energy and muscle, because one of the objections that I know a lot of people come to both of us with is, I'm just tired all the time. I don't have the energy to work out. From your experience, especially because I know most of your clients are not in their 20s and 30s, right? Most of your clients are 40s, 50s, 60s and beyond. What are people experiencing energetically when they do more strength training? Because I believe that a lot of people are like, I'm just already tired. I can't do something that's going to make me more tired.
Totally. Right. That feeling like one more thing to my day, like you're going to make me do something else. Like I can barely get through the day now. And let me tell you, both anecdotally and proven through studies time and time again, that moving your body energizes you for the rest of the day, energizes you for the next day. Half of the people I train on working out say their biggest benefit is the mental clarity and the stick-to-itness energy they get from that workout. They could give a crap about how much weight they're lifting or like how they look. They're like, I need to do this because it gets me through the rest of my day. My mental clarity, my energy is amazing. And the analogy I use is, think of like a giant spring, like it's under your car, like a giant spring. If you wanted that spring to shoot up, you'd have to really push down on it first, apply some pressure, and then it's going to spring up to the sky, right? We are a spring. You got to apply some pressure in the form of a workout, right? Pressure yourself, challenge yourself, and then you spring up full of energy, ready to go, ready to attack the rest of your day. And without that pressure to compress the spring, you just kind of fall over, right? Like, it doesn't go very well, right? Same thing for us. We are like a spring.
Well, and I think what a lot of people don't think about biochemically, physiologically, is that our muscle is the home of our mitochondria. Mitochondria exist throughout the whole body. I mean, they're in a lot of different types of tissues and cells, but they're most highly concentrated in the muscle. And if you can kind of remember to 7th grade science class, the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell. It truly is the energy factory. What that means is when you have less muscle, you have fewer energy factories. And so if you are not consistently and effectively strength training, starting in your 30s, you're losing muscle, you're losing energy factories. And so we associate, I'm more tired now with being older. It ain't that. It's not an association with chronological age. It's the association with loss of muscle as you age. And so what we get to do is build muscle so that we have more energy production capacity. We have more energy factories. Otherwise, you just have less and less and less and less and less energy. And that is part of the immune equation too. When your body has less energy, that's not just like the pep in your step. That's the energy that it has for healing and repair and restoration. And so you're putting yourself at a disadvantage if you're just losing muscle as you age, because your body can't power the healing and repair work that it has to do as it just continues to lose energy. So for me, as a mom, when I feel absolutely tired and drained, I know one of the best things I can do isn't to take a nap. It's to do some strength training, because not only do I get the blood flow and the oxygenation of the actual workout, it has a return, right? There's a return on the time. My body keeps benefiting from that strength training long after the workout is over, because with every fraction of an ounce of muscle that I build, I increase my energy capacity and I improve my immune system and I improve my metabolism and all these other things. I posted on Instagram the other day that I used to be 150 plus pounds heavier than I am now. And one of the things that I would do differently if I could go back is, instead of just trying to get smaller, because I think there's a lot of people that want to lose weight.
Yeah.
I would, and that's not a bad goal, but I also would have focused as much on getting stronger, right? I would have focused on weighing less because I needed to, but I also would have focused on lifting more. And I wouldn't just have had goals like I want to lose 20 pounds or 50 pounds or whatever. I would have had goals like, I can't do any push-ups. Great. I want to get to 1. And then when I want to get to 1, I want to get to 5. And then when I get to 5, I want to get to 10. Or I can't hang from a pull-up bar. Well, I want to be able to hang from a pull-up bar for 10 seconds. And then once I can do 10 seconds, I'm going to set the goal and I'm going to do 30 seconds. But we need that. And I love what you said about it being hygiene. This no longer can be a thing that like, no, I mean, I know I should, but it's just not my thing. I love to walk. I want you to walk. I want you to dance and hike if you love to dance and hike. But I also want you to start strength training. We have a totally free ebook, and we have so much we want to share with you. But the first thing I want you to know is, in the description for this, we've got a link where you can get a completely free, no strings attached, just this information and more if you want to go deeper into some of the stuff Morgan and I touched on tonight, as well as some of the mechanics of movement and staying safe and all of those stuff. It's all in the free ebook, totally free. We're not asking for a penny from you, but we're also going to come back later this week because I want to talk about some of the big fears and concerns, Morgan, that you get all the time of people afraid to get hurt. Or maybe they think like, I don't even know what to do. I've bought workout programs before, but then I think I'm not doing the movements right. And so I don't want to do something that I'm not doing right. And I don't know how to learn or where to learn. And the things that people are teaching on the internet seems beyond my skill set. So like all of that stuff, we're going to talk about that this week. So I don't know, any final thoughts on just the necessity of strength training before we have folks join us in another day or so?
Yeah, absolutely. It seems really scary. Like, I think that's a great way to end it, is like people at this point maybe know it's important, but like, gosh, where do I start? Oh my gosh, it seems so scary. The ebook is a great place to start. There is so much noise out there, and we're trying to simplify it. It can be very simple. It can be And that's the approach we've taken, right? We've taken the basics that are going to move the needle, that are the best investment for your time, the best place to start. The ebook is totally the way to do that. And then we'll come back later this week and we'll touch on those objections, and we'll talk about how we help athletes overcome those objections, because it is possible for everyone to move the needle with building some muscle and lifting some weight.
Yeah. No matter what your physical limitations are, no matter what equipment you have or don't have, no matter if you have a gym membership or you don't, no matter if you have 10 minutes a week or you have 2 hours a week, no matter what, this is for you. And I really do believe that everybody needs to get their hands on the free ebook. Look, even if you're just like the master of strength training, get it for your mom. Right? Get it for your sister, get it for your girlfriend. It's totally free. The link is in the description here. If you have any trouble with it, just shoot me a message. Morgan and I will be back super soon. But Morgan, thanks for carving out the time. I'm really excited to talk with you more about this.
Yeah, looking forward to it.